Hi everyone, welcome back to a new weekend episode from DGMZ, Diwan-e-Ghalib Meri Zubani. To all our returning viewers, welcome back. We are very glad you could join us again. And for the new viewers, we are very happy that you discovered the podcast and decided to tune in. Today we are going to start with a new ghazal from Diwan-e-Ghalib. If you were with me in the previous episode, you would know that we completed ghazal 17. So today we get to start a new ghazal. Now this ghazal has 9 couplets. As always, I'm going to read the entire ghazal and then we will get into the impressions verse by verse. So this is how it goes. मतला अर्ज किया है, बस की दुश्वार है, बस की दुश्वार है हर काम का आसा होना। आदमी को भी मयस्सर नहीं इंसान होना। गिरिया चाहे है खराबी मेरे कशाने की, गिरिया चाहे है खराबी मेरे कशाने की। दरो दीवार से टपके है बयाबा होना। वाए दीवानगी शौक, वाए दीवानगी शौक कि हर दम मुझको आप जाना उधर और आप ही हैरान होना। जलवा अज़ब-की तकाज़ा-ए-निगाह करता है, जलवा अज़ब-की तकाज़ा-ए-निगाह करता है। जौहर-ए-आईना भी चाहे है मिश्का होना। इशरत-ए-क़त्ल-गाह-ए-अहल-ए-तमन्ना मत पूछ, इशरत-ए-क़त्ल-गाह-ए-अहल-ए-तमन्ना मत पूछ। ईद-ए-नज़्ज़ारा है शमशीर का उरिया होना। ले गए खाक में हम, ले गए खाक में हम दागे-तमन्ना-ए-नशात। तू हो और आप बसद रंग-गुलिस्तां होना। इशरत-ए-पaaraa-ए-दिल ज़ख्म-ए-तमन्ना खाना, इशरत-ए-पaaraa-ए-दिल ज़ख्म-ए-तमन्ना खाना। लज़्ज़त-ए-रिish-e-जिगर गर्क़-ए-नमक-दान होना। कि मेरे कत्ल के बाद, कि मेरे कत्ल के बाद उसने जफ़ा से तौबा, कि मेरे कत्ल के बाद उसने जफ़ा से तौबा। हाय उस ज़ूद पशेमा का पशेमा होना। मक्ता अर्ज़ किया है, हैफ उस चार गिरा कपड़े की किस्मत गालिब, हैफ उस चार गिरा कपड़े की किस्मत गालिब जिसकी किस्मत में हो आशिक का गरेबा होना। It's a beautiful ghazal. In fact, this ghazal has not one, not two, but at least 3 couplets that have become famous. लोगों को मुँह ज़बानी याद है, मक्ता याद है, मतला याद है, एंड ये वाला कि मेरे कत्ल के बाद उसने जफ़ा से तौबा। हाय उस जूद पशेमा का पशेमा होना। So it's a famous ghazal. It's a ghazal that does rounds in common vernacular. आपने इसमें से कुछ अशार सुने भी होंगे, but today we are going to decode it together. So let's dive in. First couplet. बस की दुश्वार है हर काम का आसान होना, आदमी को भी मयस्सर नहीं इंसान होना. Let's do a very approximate translation. The first line translates to, it is so difficult that it is almost impossible for things to go easy. It is so difficult that it's almost impossible for things to go easy. even man cannot be true to his essence of being human easy. So that's the approximate translation. But of course, we will unpack it, and we will we will get into the impression. In my humble opinion, this is a philosophical शेर. एक फ़लसफ़ा है जो कि गालिब इसमें बड़ी खूबसूरती से कैप्चर करते हैं. अब इसमें 2-3 वर्ड्स हैं जिनका हम लोगों को मीनिंग आना चाहिए टू enjoy the couplet and its impression. So पहला वर्ड है दुश्वार. So like I said in my approximate translation, dushwar does not necessarily translate to impossible. What it translates to is so difficult that it's almost impossible. So it is possible, but it is so difficult that it's almost impossible. And दूसरा वर्ड जो इसमें है, आदमी को भी मयस्सर नहीं इंसान होना. So Mayassar is ability to fulfill the purpose. Basically, Mayassar means if something is Mayassar to you, it will come naturally to you. It will come easily to you. It will be facilitated for you. Because either by design or by planning, you are supposed to do it. This is your purpose. You are supposed to fulfill it. In theory, you should be able to fulfill it. So, वो है मयस्सर. Now, अदा है गालिब की. पहले स्टेटमेंट में, पहली लाइन में, in the first line of the couplet, he makes this sweeping blanket statement, right? बस की दुश्वार है हर काम का आसान होना. Nothing is easy. It is so difficult that it is almost impossible for anything to be easy. Now, look at the confidence to make a sweeping statement like that, right? I mean, one would say, hold on. Yeah, life is full of difficulties. The world is full of difficulties. But hey, there are a few things that come to us easy, right? No. Ghalib says nothing. Blanket statement, sweeping statement, nothing is easy. And of course, that elicits a natural reaction in the reader. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? And Ghalib, with his innate ability, right? With his innate ability, expects the question before time and answers it in the second line. Aadmi ko bhi mayassar nahi insaan hona. And this is where the philosophy is, right? Ghalib says, when for a human to be human is so difficult, forget about the rest of it. Forget about the rest of it. So, and this is where you get into the philosophical bit of it, right? Human being versus human. Aadmi versus Insaan. So, human being or Aadmi is the physical entity. But human and Insaan are intangible. ये एक आदत है, ये एक सलीका है, ये एक तरीका है जीने का. This is a way of being. So you can exist, but the way of being does not get fulfilled just because you exist. The way you are supposed to be is a totally different thing. And that's not easy. It should come naturally to you. You were created in the image of God. You were made human. You are supposed to project humanity through everything you say and do. But how easy is it for you to do that? Don't we as humans multiple times in small ways and big ways easily slip from the benchmark, easily miss the benchmark of being human and kind of slip into that territory of inhumanity, right? Maybe not that severe as, but still, just cross that line over and do something which is selfish, which is going to hurt someone, which is going to destroy someone, which is not nurturing someone. Just because you're not doing bad doesn't mean you're doing good. No bad doesn't automatically mean good. Good, you have to do good to, for good to get fulfilled. So, so Ghalib is saying in this couplet, when something that we are programmed to, something we are built for, something God ordained for us to be, He put His breath into us and made us in His likeness. With all that core programming, we still are unable to operate the way we are supposed to operate. What else do you hope or expect from us to achieve? If we cannot achieve this basic criteria, if we cannot fulfill this basic criteria of being what we are supposed to be. एंड इसमें कुछ शेर पढ़ते हैं साथ में, जिससे कि इस कॉन्सेप्ट पे थोड़ा और जिसे कहते हैं ना, थोड़ी और लेयरिंग होगी, थोड़ा और मीनिंग निकलेगा. सो कैफ़ी आज़मी का ये शेर है. बस्ती में अपनी हिंदू मुसलमान जो बस गए, इंसान की शक्ल देखने को हम तरस गए. Approximate translation is, once our towns started getting inhabited by Hindus and Muslims, and this is nothing to do with religion, it is just different sects, people with different philosophies, people following their own philosophy, right? The second line says, we started missing humans around because nobody was interested in being a human anymore. People were interested in being part of a group, religious group, social group, cultural group, it can be anything. निदा फाजली का ये शेर है. कोई हिंदू, कोई मुस्लिम, कोई ईसाई है, सब ने इंसान ना बनने की कसम खाई है. The approximate translation is, some identify themselves as Hindus, some identify themselves as Muslims, some identify themselves as Christians. It seems everybody is hell-bent on not being identified as human. People, it's not enough for us to be just human. Right? We want to belong to a group, to a philosophy. गोपाल दास नीरज का ये शेर, अब तो मज़हब कोई ऐसा भी चलाया जाए, हाँ, अब तो मज़हब कोई ऐसा भी चलाया जाए जिसमें इंसान को इंसान बनाया जाए. Beautiful couplet, right? Where it says that now probably it is time to invent a new religion. A religion that requires you to follow, that requires humans to follow being human. Right? And then going deeper into the into the same philosophy. So the big achievement that the hype is all about, right? The big achievement that the hype is all about is not about being a human being. The achievement is being human. The hype is not about being Aadmi. The hype is about being Insaan. The achievement is in being Insaan, a human. And it is not easy. And it is not easy to be a human being, but being a human is hard. इंसान के लिए इंसानियत आसान नहीं है. इंसान के लिए इंसानियत आसान नहीं है. एंड अल्ताफ़ हुसैन हाली का ये शेर बहुत प्यारा है. फरिश्ते से बढ़कर है इंसान बनना. फरिश्ते से बढ़ के है इंसान बनना, मगर इसमें लगती है मेहनत ज़्यादा. So the approximate translation is, it is a higher achievement to be a human than to be an angel. It is a higher achievement to be human than to be an angel, but then this requires a lot of hard work. It requires a lot of hard work. So, Ghalib has established that it is not easy for us to be human. And more importantly, be human to each other. कोई अपने आप से तो human होता नहीं है. Being human is not about a stance you take with yourself. It is about a stance you take with others. So that Ghalib has established that being human to others does not come easy to a human. Now, he uses this established fact as a consolation, as a reason to understand and excuse. To understand and excuse the cruelty, insensitivity, unfairness, and hurt he has felt in dealings with other humans, and most importantly, the beloved. Ghalib is almost saying here, क्या शिकवा करूं मैं उससे? जब हम लोग इंसान ही नहीं बन पाते हैं, तो फिर ये माशूक और लवर और beloved and mother and father and brother and sister, these are very evolved relationships. These are very evolved relationships. ये सब रूहानी रिश्ते हैं. These relationships require soul, they require love, they require much hard work, lot of patience, lot of forgiveness. I think it is kind of unfair to expect all this from human beings who are still struggling to meet the basic criteria of being a human. That's the way it comes across to me. That Ghalib says that, well, I guess since being human for a human is so difficult, one should not have very high expectations of anything above and beyond that. Maybe one should just hope and pray they meet the basic criteria of being a human, and not really wait for them to ascend to a level where they can actually become a lover or a beloved or a true friend or a true family member or a true soul tribe member for us. Because that, वो जो word है दुश्वार, that is not impossible, but it is so difficult that it is almost impossible. It is so difficult that it is almost impossible. And बशीर बद्र का ये शेर बिल्कुल on point है for this thing. इंसान अपने आप में मजबूर है बहुत। इंसान अपने आप में मजबूर है बहुत, कोई नहीं है बेवफा, अफसोस मत करो। बहुत प्यारा शेर है और यही बात कह रहा है, राइट? द अप्रॉक्सीमेट ट्रांसलेशन इज man is so man is so majboor. Sometimes these quick translations create a mind block. Majboor. Man is so man is so desperate. Man is so helpless. Helpless. Yes, that's the word. Man is so helpless that man is so helpless. Man is so helpless by himself. And इसमें आप we can do that extension. Man is so helpless, struggling to become a man to begin with, right? To become a human to begin with. Nobody is cheating you, nobody is betraying you. Don't be so sad. Take in account that every human being is struggling, is helpless and almost a slave to their own limitations, their own greed, their own inability to become a human. Every human is a slave to their inability in meeting the criteria of being a human. So, do not hold it against anybody. Nobody is betraying you. Nobody is pulling a fast one on you. They are just struggling. And in their struggle, inevitably, they'll end up hurting you or betraying you. Okay, so let's move on to the next sher. गिरिया चाहे है खराबी मेरे कशाने की, दरो दीवार से टपके है बयाबा होना. Let's do an approximate translation. Giryaa is crying. Kashana is a small house. So the first line says, my crying is after the destruction of my house, is targeting the destruction of my house. My crying is targeting the destruction of my house. And Kashana, small house, humble abode. Chota sa ghar, right? My crying is endangering, threatening my house. And the second line is daro diwar se tapke hai. My walls and my doors are almost oozing out, and oozing because we are talking about water. It is the crying that we are talking about. So the doors and the walls are oozing wilderness, desolation, emptiness, loneliness, despair. Now, इस शेर का जब इम्प्रेशन कर रहे थे प्रिपेयर, I was once again absolutely floored by the visualization that Ghalib brings to the table. ऐसी गज़ल लिखते थे that you could read his ghazal and get transported into the scene. And two-line couplet with approximately, give or take, 10 to 13 words. And he will draw a canvas so vivid, so extensive, so detailed that it will baffle you. It will take hours for you to cover all aspects of the canvas he has drawn in those two lines. So let's begin. First, we will talk about the very simple, very straightforward physical visualization. So, what do you think the house of a heartbroken lover would look like? How do you think it would look? Desolated? Unkept? Lonely? Neglected? empty, grim, barren, deserted. Simply put, lifeless. A person with a broken heart will be in a state where they are even neglecting their own existence and themselves. Forget about the house. The house will clearly scream from every corner very silently, scream very silently, the fact that there is no life in here. There is only pain and grief, and that has covered everything in the house like a dark black shadow. So, that would be a very typical scenario inside the house of a broken hearted lover. But that's where the simple part of it ends. This is no ordinary broken hearted lover. This is Ghalib. This is Ghalib. And this is where Ghalib will now, because it is Ghalib, it will allow us to step into this metaphysical visualization of this house at a totally new level. So, what Ghalib probably, it almost comes across as if Ghalib is saying, from the outside, you might still miss it. And my house might look like any other house on the street, right? Any other house around me might seem similar. But once you step inside my house, it's a totally different world altogether. Totally different. From suddenly a bustling town and a bustling street with life and joy and action and all kind of activity. You step into my house and the scene completely changes. Completely changes. And what is the scene? The scene is that the house from inside is undergoing this slow destruction as it keeps getting submerged deeper and deeper into Ghalib's crying or tears produced by his crying. Now, the other thing that came through to me as very interesting was this word that he uses, right? Bayabaan. Now, Bayabaan translates to desert, wilderness, wasteland, arid, right? And lonely, desolate, of course. And the contrast, right? Usually, one would think that if something is getting a lot of water, it will nourish, it will grow, right? But this is not that water. These are tears. These are tears that are drenched in anxiety, in pain, in disillusionment, in grief, in disappointment. And these are not streams or little, tricklings of water. This is a deluge. It's a flood. This water is destructive. It will destroy and kill everything that comes in its way. And that's what the Sher is. Daro diwar se tapke hai bayabaan hona. My walls, my doors, you can see them oozing wilderness. You can see them oozing desert, arid land, wasteland. Imagine the picturization. You would say, so much water and he's talking about desert. Yes, that's the contrast. That's the contrast. So much water and he's talking about a wasteland. Yes, that's the contrast. This is not your nourishing, gurgling, white, clear water. These are salty tears, which probably are boiling with the intensity of emotions they uh, hold in them. And you also have to realize that Ghalib was not a crybaby. We know, we have gone through many ghazals. He took pride in internalizing his grief, in keeping his grief to himself. This deluge or flood of tears started very small and very deep within his heart. But over time, it has grown. Over time, it has grown. One disappointment after another, one disillusionment after another, one betrayal after another. It has kept growing. And today it seems the dam has broken. And now all this grief that he has held inside is spilling over. The spillover is real. It is it is it is physically manifesting outside of Ghalib's body and existence. It is surrounding him now. And we know that we have covered Ghazal 15 and we have covered Ghazal 16. And both ghazals had couplets where this deluge will not be restricted to his house alone. We know that this will intensify even more. It will become a tempest and almost take the form of a natural calamity. And I really like that at DGMZ now we have covered enough ghazals that we can quote them. We can quote them and we can pull them into impressions. So I am not going to get into the explanation of it. If you want to, you can tune into Ghazal 15 episode, but I will read it for you for sure. वां करम को उज़्रे बारिश था इनान गिरे खिरां, गिरिए से यां पुम्बाए बलिश कफ़े सैलाब था। वां खुद अराई को था मोती पिरोने का ख्याल, या हजूम अश्क में तारे निगाह नायाब था। जलवाए गुल ने किया था वां चरागा आबजू, या रवान मिसगा ने चश्मे तर से खूने नाब था। एंड देन गज़ल 16 का जो मक्ता था, द लास्ट कपलेट, मैंने रोका रात गालिब को, मैंने रोका रात गालिब को वगर न देखते, उसके सैले गिरिया में गर्दूं कफ़े सैलाब था। All these couplets detail how the crying and the laments and the grief-filled sighs from his heart just became so intense and so much that they left earth and they started making their way towards the skies. They just filled the space between the earth and the skies. एंड ये एक और मिर्ज़ा गालिब का ही शेर है, यूं ही गर रोता रहा गालिब तो ए अहले जां, यूं ही गर रोता रहा गालिब तो ए अहले जां, जहां देखना इन बस्तियों को तुम की वीरा हो गई. द अप्रॉक्सीमेट ट्रांसलेशन इज गालिब. Ghalib, if you do not stop crying, if you keep crying like this, then gotta warn the world, because you are going to raise these townships to ground. Basically, you're going to flood these towns and destroy everything in them. So this concept of crying and grieving so much that it starts spilling out of you and starts spreading around you, and then keeps spreading, and whatever comes in its way keeps destroying it, is a very typical Ghalib style and concept, and he has covered that in this couplet. Okay, let's move on to the third one. वाए-दीवानगी-ए-शौक की हरदम मुझको, वाए-दीवानगी-ए-शौक की हरदम मुझको, आप जाना उधर और आप ही हैरा होना. Yes. This could easily become one of my favorite shares, and yes, the list is long. And I will tell you why. Because many times in his ghazals, it almost seems that Ghalib stops midway in his tracks and asks himself a question. And that innocence with which he asks himself a question of which the answer he knows. And of course, the answer is not positive, right? But there is this childlike innocence, this childlike faith in hope or magic or whatever. I do not know. I cannot articulate it. But there is something in him that makes him ask himself, अगर ऐसा ना होता तो क्या होता? वो वाला एक जज्बा. So this share is like that. It's almost as if Ghalib is asking him, why? Why am I doing this? Now let's do the proximate translation before I get carried into the impression. वाए-दीवानगी-ए-शौक की हरदम मुझको. Alas. Alas, the yearning, the longing, and the desire, the maddening desire I feel for my beloved. Alas, because of this desire, every time I am doing this. And what is this? That's in the second line. Aap jana udhar. Going there myself. Where? To the beloved's house. Or aap hi haira hona. And then surprising myself when I reach there. So that's the approximate translation. But here Ghalib is trying to capture a very interesting situation. Very simply put, it is majboori. It's a helplessness. But this is Ghalib. Nothing is simply put, right? Nothing is simply put. It has multiple layers, and we will get into them to enjoy them in totality. So it almost seems that Ghalib is in a predicament, right? And in that predicament, he does make a decision, which is not favorable. And once he has made the decision, the result comes in of that decision, and that almost bewilders Ghalib. It baffles Ghalib. It puzzles Ghalib. Okay? So, Ghalib is in a loop. He's in a continuous loop. He's a smart man. He knows what he's doing. He knows it's a loop, but he cannot get out of it. He's in a loop. और ये loop क्या है? उम्मीद and नाउमीदी. Hope and hopelessness. That is the loop. The continuous loop between hope and hopelessness. Hopelessness drives you towards hope. Hope drives you towards hopelessness. The cycle keeps going. Now, the hope is what makes him go to the beloved's house. No reason for hope, but there is hope. There is hope, and that is where that childlike innocence or naivete, right? There is always hope. What if? Who can answer what if? Nobody can. Umeed pe duniya kayam hai. So he goes, Hope takes him to the house of the beloved, and then once he reaches there, he realizes यहाँ तो कुछ नहीं है. And then the despair or the hopelessness sets in, making him have to turn around and come back. Now one has to realize this is unrequited love. He is not invited at the beloved's house. There is nobody waiting for him there. There is nobody to welcome him there. Nobody has invited him there. Nothing. Even before he starts walking towards her house, he knows that once he reaches the house, he will have to immediately turn around and come back because there's nothing there. And the fact that there is nothing there is going to be so disappointing, so hopeless, that he will not be able to stand there and allow that hopelessness to just keep, washing over him in waves. He will come back. There's no point in waiting there. And once he comes back, the hope again starts rearing its head up, demanding to be fulfilled, and will make him walk back again. And he knows that he will arrive at the beloved's house only to leave. And he knows that he will leave the beloved's house only to arrive at it again. He knows that. And arriving and leaving beloved's house, not inside the house, just the door, right? Maybe from the road. Because like I said, he's not invited. And इसमें एक और चीज़ जो काबिल गौर है, आप. Aap is translated to me, myself. He has used it twice in the second line. Aap jana udhar. By my own accord, by myself, I go there. Aur aap hi era hona. And then by my own accord, by myself, I stand there stupefied. What am I doing here? So, this loop that he's in, he's a smart guy. He knows nobody has forced him in this loop. He also knows nobody can save him from this loop. He knows he has stepped into this loop by his own accord. And he knows he can step out of the loop only by his own accord. And यहीं पे मजबूरी. यहीं पे मजबूरी. Knowing fully well that you are in a loop, knowing fully well that you are the hamster on the wheel, you cannot step out of it. You cannot step out of it. You continue doing the same thing again and again. You continue doing the same thing again and again. And उस पे वो हैरान word, right? गालिब का हैरान होना is not a common thing. This is a guy who predicted, who sensed, who felt, who experienced levels of mental and emotional complexities way beyond his time. Way beyond his time. So, him being stupefied is this simple thing that Ghalib, you know this is of no use, but you still do it. And मजबूरी तो मजबूरी है, उसका तो आप कुछ कर नहीं सकते. जाना पड़ता है. जाना पड़ता है. पता है कि जाते ही वापस आना पड़ेगा, पता है कि वहाँ पे कोई हमारा इंतज़ार नहीं कर रहा है, पर जाना पड़ता है. उबैद उल्लाह अलीम का ये शेर, कुछ इश्क था, कुछ मजबूरी थी, सो मैंने जीवा वार दिया. मैं कैसा जिंदा आदमी था कि एक शख्स ने मुझे मार दिया. So basically the approximate translation is, I was helpless. Now some helplessness was due to the love I felt, Some helplessness was uh, due to my desire, right? And hence, in this helpless state, I sacrificed my life. I sacrificed my life, and now I wonder what kind of a man was I who could who could be killed by another person? What kind of an alive person was I who could be killed by another person? एंड देन बेजद लखनवी का ये शेर, अरमान नहीं कोई गो दिल में मेरे लेकिन अल्लाह री मजबूरी मजबूर तमन्ना हूँ. So basically, again, the approximate translation is my heart does not anymore harbor wishes and desires and dreams. It doesn't. It's empty. Or so I feel, right? But still, there is this helplessness of wanting, and wanting by extension the beloved. So, the gist of the matter is that no amount of dejection, disillusionment, failure, rejection, despair, right, can rob you of your wanting and hoping. It is very difficult to kill hope. It is very difficult to stop wanting something you want. You might give up any concrete hope of it ever happening, but there is a majburi at a spinal level, reflexly, somewhere deep inside of you. You will want what you want. You will keep wanting what you want. If you stop wanting it, yes, the cycle will end. But if you don't stop wanting it, no matter what happens around you, there is this helplessness about it where nothing kills that. Nothing kills that hope. Nothing kills that desire. It keeps going on. Keeps you in the loop. Keeps you in the loop. Okay, so I think we will stop here for tonight. We will cover fourth couplet and all the rest in the next episode. If you enjoyed today's impression, request you to click like. If you have any feedback or comment, request you to share your comments and feedback with me. Like I always say, nothing gives me more joy to see a comment. Whether it is as simple as nice, good work, or a thumbs up, or whether it is a detailed question or a comment or feedback, it brings me immense joy. So, अपने लिए और मेरे लिए do comment and share your feedback. For the new viewers, we do have 2 playlists. One of them gets into the weekend episodes where we get into one ghazal at a time from Diwan-e-Ghalib. And the second playlist is of bonus episodes where we still cover Urdu poetry, Mirza. We also cover events at DGMZ. Explore both playlists and access the episodes that interest you. If you know someone who would like listening to these impressions or is a fan of Ghalib, humble request, share the podcast and the channel through your social media, be it YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. I would really appreciate that. The channel is growing slowly and steadily, and that's absolutely fine. I think we have a lovely group at DGMZ of viewers जो दिल से ट्यून इन करते हैं और दिल से कंटेंट को एंजॉय करते हैं. I genuinely believe that, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of DGMZ. Let me end by sending lots of love and light to all of you, and thanks for watching.